trauma and manifesting equals a terrible life. Let's get into this. So what is trauma? Trauma is broadly defined as a disordered mental or behavioral state resulting from severe mental, emotional stress or physical injury. Individuals can appear put together, driven, and accomplished while internally managing 24/7 chronic nervous system dysregulation. It often appears as anxiety, depression, OCD, ADHD, insomnia, hypervigilance, being easily triggered, feeling like everything needs to be done quickly, and even physical ailments caused by emotional distress. The 10 ACEs of trauma, adverse childhood experiences. So we've got physical abuse, intentional use of physical force causing harm or injury. Emotional abuse, verbal assaults, threats, or behaviors that undermine a child's self-worth. And that can be an adult as well. Sexual abuse, any sexual act imposed on a child, again, or on an adult. Physical neglect, failure to meet a child's basic physical needs like food, shelter, and medical care. Emotional neglect, lack of emotional support, love, and affection from family members. Substance abuse, living with a family member who has a substance use disorder. So this could be a drug addict, this could be an alcoholic, anybody that's using substances to cope with reality in a destructive way. Mental illness, living with someone who has untreated mental health issues or has attempted suicide. Even commonly discussing suicide is in there as well. Parental separation or divorce, experiencing the legal or emotional separation of parents. Incarceration, having a household member who is incarcerated. Domestic violence, witnessing intimate partner violence within the household, and that could be really any physical violence inside the household as a child is growing up. And as listed here, I'm going to have the ACEs test in the description of this video so that you can take it yourself and get a good idea of whether you've experienced a lot of these different ACEs or not. And that'll also help give you a good backing for, why you might be the way that you are. If you feel that you struggle quite a bit just living as a human being, or that the modern world is especially heavy for you, or it feels like things are a lot more challenging for you than they are for other people, I highly recommend taking this test. All right, let's move on here. Trauma's effect on our nervous system. So the stories trauma tells us. It's important to stay vigilant, aware of what's going on around you. Hyper aware of people's emotional states. Base one behaviors off of other people. If somebody's happy, if somebody's angry, try to act in a way where you're able to fly under the radar as much as possible. Usually learned in childhood or as an adult having, tremendously abusive people around. Negative thoughts often seen as useful to predict events the child or person might experience next. Certain noises, words, behaviors, smells, interactions might quickly trigger a heightened emotional response as a protection mechanism. So that means maybe getting super anxious or getting very angry or even causing a repression of emotions. Many different responses can happen. People are usually unsafe. No one will ever truly help me, so I need to be hyper independent. I'm curious, have you ever had these kinds of thoughts before? Have they ever popped up in your head as you were growing up as a child or even as an adult? Let me know in the comments down below. Next slide. The nuances of trauma. Trauma is often an overly used word in modern culture, causing confusion and resistance to trauma being a real and important thing someone may be experiencing. The interesting thing about trauma is that two people that experience the exact same situation may have totally different responses to it. One person traumatized, one person sees it as a walk in the park. Now, there's a tremendous amount of variables that go into how somebody might respond to trauma. One person sees it as something very easy, or they don't even think about it. They don't think that it was a difficult thing to go through at all, while the other person may experience it as one of the most challenging and difficult things that they've ever experienced in their life. Trauma truly is nuanced and an individual experience. The cyclical nature of trauma. Bad, negative things happen enough to become predictable. A child or person notices said pattern and begins to predict, mentally and physically, that it will happen. I'll dive more into that in the following slides. By thinking and feeling as if it already happened, they inevitably act in a way that is more likely to make the event happen. So they're thinking about it happening, they're feeling the emotions around that happening, right? What kind of emotions would they feel if somebody was going to come home drunk? Would they be abused physically, emotionally? Would they be completely neglected? Would they not have food brought to the house? Would there not be dinner made and this child is 6 or 7 years old? All these different things that they begin to notice happen in their life that cause them a tremendous amount of physical and emotional pain, they build up these awarenesses around, and then they begin to predict when these things are going to happen so that they can be more emotionally prepared for them. And then lastly, even if they are right a small amount of the time, that is enough to condition this behavior as quote unquote correct or accurate in the predicting of a threat, abuse, or whatever else they're experiencing in that traumatic environment. So even if it's 10 or 15% of the time that the child or person accurately predicts that this negative thing that happens quite often is going to happen at this specific time, then it's going to be wired into their nervous system as something that they use as a tool for deciphering what's going to happen in their life. When is this going to happen to me next? When am I going to be subjected to this kind of terrible treatment, abuse, neglect, whatever it might be? Moving on, trauma is individual. So I talked about this a little bit before. There's no one size fits all for trauma. People heal from it differently, experience it uniquely, and even factors such as a man's testosterone level can impact whether or not something becomes trauma. If you feel you are struggling with trauma, I highly recommend the ACEs test listed in the description to gain awareness around your experiences. I cannot recommend that enough. That is one of the most foundational places to start to gain awareness of the things that you might have experienced in your life. Key points. Trauma deeply impacts our nervous system and often causes us to remain in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response during normal waking life. So essentially, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, for the people that don't know, it's essentially a nervous system state that our body gets sent into. So it often used to be called, fight or flight, right? But now we know fight, flight, freeze, or fawn is the whole picture. So you have fight, that's quite obvious. You would fight whoever your abuser is, or whatever, if an animal is attacking you, that could be considered trauma as well. Flight, that would be to run away, to get away from the environment where that thing is happening. Freeze, that's like a deer in headlights, completely frozen, not responding to the environment at all. Or fawn, so that would be to react in a way where your abuser or neglector or whatever the situation is, whoever the person is or group of people are, take it easy on you, right? You get on their good side. You make them feel good so that they'll begin to leave you alone or just be a little bit easier on you. Addressing the nervous system and retraining it to become calm is essential. Each of us experiences trauma in our own unique way. Trauma can be healed and overcome. In general, a nervous system trained only for war will crumble during peacetime. But what does trauma have to do with manifestation? Now, I love this so much, and I am so excited to share this with all of you. So on the left, you can imagine, this guy is, bent over. We all know that feeling of, feeling like you just want to curl up into a ball. You have no idea how you're going to figure things out in life. You have no idea why you're being treated a certain way, by people or by a specific person. And on the right side, maybe it might be few and far between for you, but I'm sure at least once in your life you have felt something similar to what that picture depicts. That expansive feeling from a heart-centered place, feeling love and compassion for yourself, for everybody around you, for all of humanity, for all of the world. Even if you've experienced it once, you have an idea of what that expansive feeling feels like. So first, what is manifestation? While often touted as being woke or woo-woo, manifestation has significant scientific and anecdotal backing. Manifestation, simply put, is the materialization of thoughts, feelings, and actions into the physical world we live within. This is a constant, never-ending process. We are always, and I mean always, manifesting something. Collapsing the wave function study is an experiment you can look up where they studied the effects of electrons around. I'm mixing two up. It's where they shot photons through slits, and they observed the formation of the electrons on the other side of the slit paper that they were shot through. And I'm butchering the description of that, so I highly recommend looking it up for yourself and looking into this stuff with I'd say with a skeptical perspective, right? With a grain of salt. Really look into this kind of stuff yourself and find out what resonates for you. So, we know without a shadow of a doubt that our dominant thoughts and feelings create our personal reality. This realization can feel overwhelming for many people, but it is also one of the most freeing experiences any of us can go through. Trauma and manifestation. The most important connection between trauma and manifestation is that they are both acted upon by our nervous system, our state of being. The more unresolved trauma someone has, the more likely they will feel stuck in the same life. A perfect example are the I can't catch a break people that always seem to have some terrible thing happening in their life. Most of us know, one or two of these people, right? They always have something negative and challenging happening in their life. And it's almost like the only thing that ever comes out of their mouth are some of the most negative things somebody could ever think and say. I haven't met somebody that hasn't come in contact with that kind of person. So I'm interested in hearing if somebody out there is completely oblivious to those people existing. But I digress. These people were all children at one point, most likely subjected to terrible treatment by people that also did not address their own trauma. Unless addressed and resolved, the thoughts, feelings, and actions crafted by trauma will persist. So that's just, dogmatic. It's passing it down generation by generation. It's continuously pushing shit downhill onto the next generation of people because I didn't know how to deal with it myself. And I didn't ever face my quote unquote demons and the most challenging parts about myself to overcome these things. So I act in a very similar way to my own abusers, and I pass those things down to the next generation. So maybe you'll be the person to stand up and change these things for multiple generations in your family. You can view trauma-based thoughts as thoughts originating from a survival-focused energy in our body, and creative thoughts coming from our natural state of being as loving, curious, and expressive beings. Survival thoughts say, I'm never enough. People hate me. That person is fat, ugly, broke, weird. Rich people are evil. Money never stays. I can't maintain healthy relationships. I can't do it. Creation thoughts say, I feel like helping today. I love sharing myself with the world. Mistakes are like falling off a bike. Everyone does it as they learn. I love hearing people's unique perspectives. Everything always works out for me. Now, if you look at this like a battle, you've got the picture here. If it's a battle between these two kinds of thoughts, it's always going to feel like that, because you're going to have these negative thoughts from these challenges in your life and these traumas that you've experienced come up. And then you're going to have this battle where it's like, no, I'm not supposed to be thinking that. Oh, that's not healthy for me to be thinking. So and so forth. And it just goes on and on and on and on. So I'm going to address this in one of my future slides. So let's move on. But I've tried thinking positive thoughts. It doesn't work for me. I've heard that a lot. It's not the thoughts alone. Thoughts cause feelings. Feelings cause thoughts. If you take a moment to, really take in this picture, this is pretty much exactly how our bodies work. Now, if you really dive into this, think of a time when you were remembering something you really loved, or you were thinking of a loved one, or you experienced something really, really cool, or you got surprised by someone. You can look back and you can see how these feelings caused thoughts, and how the thoughts caused feelings. It works in both directions, and it is always there to tap into. We always have access to our thoughts, and we always have access to our feelings. It's easier said than done, because a lot of us in this modern day world are uncomfortable feeling what's really going on. And it's uncomfortable for us to become aware of what we're thinking. Never mind, begin to guide it in the direction we want it to go. So to continue on that, do not fight negative thoughts. They will win one way or another. Simply draw your attention from them and focus on things you enjoy imagining, remembering, and creating within your infinite mind. What is one of your favorite memories? What do you feel remembering this? Allow that to come up. Genuinely, what is one of your favorite memories? And if you're thinking about commenting on this video, I would love to hear one of your favorite memories and what you feel. Bring it up inside of you right now. I'd love to hear that down below. So what's coming up inside of you? What is that favorite memory? That first one that pops into your mind before anything else? And really focus on it. What do you feel remembering that favorite memory? Was it exciting? Was it fun? Was it intimate? What was it for you? So, this process may feel challenging at first. An old, wounded version of you might chime in saying, this is nonsense, or there's no reason to try this, or this never worked last time. And that's part of the process. Just like I said in a previous slide, everybody falls off the bike trying to learn for the first time. Everybody. And that's part of the process. Nobody is going to, no healthy person is going to teach a child how to ride a bike, and whenever they fall off, shame them. Why are you falling off the bike? Why can't you figure this out? No healthy adult is going to do that, teaching a child how to ride a bike. That's nonsense. So why would you treat yourself any different? Our mind is truly a garden. Joe Dispenza often says, neurons that fire together, wire together. Now, what garden grows from only 3 days of watering and then nothing for a month. How is our mind any different? If we've been conditioned to always think negatively, then growing our new garden of expansive, loving, energy-filled thinking isn't going to happen overnight. This really comes down to having grace with yourself. Having grace with myself as I recondition my mind to think in a way that feels good, to focus on things that actually bring positive, loving things into my life. Not just endless negative garbage that continuously recycles itself and just constantly drains me. Entertaining negative thoughts is a trap, as you can tell. They are a black hole that will endlessly consume all the energy we feed it. Thoughts that feel good and expansive, however, are one of the greatest investments in ourselves and others that we can give. These new thoughts and feelings will pay us back 100 times over. Final thoughts. A thought or imagined life must be entertained long enough to begin to feel it as real. No different than thinking of a person you're attracted to and experiencing a physical arousal when they're not even in front of you. If you can do that, you can imagine other things and begin to feel the feelings as if those things were happening right now. If you enjoyed this video, let me know what part of it resonated most with you and drop that down in the comments below. Till next time, love you guys.